Hello everyone and welcome to another game from the semi-finals of the Chessable Masters Knockouts. It's Liren versus Magnus Carlsen, and we have yet another game that falls victim to the rapid time control. The game did not live up to its full potential, but you guys are luckily here to rectify this. And you've seen in the previous game where Ding played against Magnus, Ding had a winning position, but it was an impossible move to find. Well, here it's gonna be similar to that. So if you guys enjoyed those lines, you guys will enjoy these lines as well. So Ding has the white pieces and he opens with d4. We have knight to f6, c4, e6, knight to c3, and we have the Nimzo-Indian defense. Bishop to b4. We have e3 by Ding and now castles by Magnus. Knight f3 and now c5, striking in the center, going for the Hibna variation. Bishop to d3 and now d5, grabbing the full center. We have c captures on d5, e captures, and d captures on c5, capturing away from the center. This is how modern chess is played. And now Magnus goes for bishop to g4. Here knight b to d7 is the continuation that is considered the safest, but bishop to g4 is just something that you would see in a school book. I mean, you just pin those knights and you have a great game. So this is what Magnus is doing against Ding here. We have castles and now knight b to d7, bishop to d2, and interestingly, Magnus already had this position in 2017 in Leuven against Wesley, so only with Magnus having the white pieces here, where Wesley played bishop captures on f3 and Wesley won that game with the black pieces. However, here Magnus plays rook to c8, and it is now as of move 10 that we have a completely new game. So Magnus deviates from the game that he himself lost with the white pieces to Wesley's bishop captures on f3. And now comes the bishop back to e2. Ding says, all right, you have quite the pressure there. I'm now ready to unpin. And bishop captures on c5. We have queen to b3. Now Ding goes after the d5 pawn and the b7 pawn. And the Magnus says, that's exactly what I wanted. Bishop to d6. And here Magnus sacrifices the d5 pawn for the attack. Those bishops are looking really awesome. Knight captures on d5, knight captures, queen captures, and now comes knight to e5. And here the tension is incredible. You can really feel it, and there should be something here. And Ding spots it correctly here. Ding's spidey sense is definitely tingling. Rook f to d1 makes sense. You want to put pressure on that bishop and the queen if the d file clears up, and the idea behind knight captures on e5, which of course can be played, is that after bishop captures on e2, black is just better or almost winning, or maybe even just winning, because okay, the rook is attacked. After you move the rook, there's this incredible bishop to c4, and now white has to give up the queen. If you play knight captures on c4, then of course the bishop captures on h2 wins the queen this way. So not a lot of fun. So like I said, rook f to d1, great move by Ding, and now Magnus plays rook to c2, and this is now big problem, but not for Ding. This is big problem for Magnus. The position is now completely winning for Ding if he manages to find the correct idea. Luckily, you guys are here. Feel free to pause the video and win the game for Ding while I give you a couple of seconds. So for those of you who were able to do it, congratulations on crushing the reigning world champion in only 15 moves. And for those of you who just want to enjoy the show, the move is bishop to b4. That's the move, but it seems that for this game it was too difficult to calculate, or Magnus just again successfully employed a mind trick towards Ding, and Ding missed this idea. He probably checked it and he said, all right, Magnus probably calculated it well. I'm not gonna search any further. But after bishop to b4, there is no move for black. Sorry, for black. What do you play here? Obviously, we're threatening to win material. So how can you counter this? There are some lines. For example, you could play rook captures on e2. White's bishop on e2 is also hanging, but this doesn't help you. After rook captures on e2, we're just gonna play knight captures on e5, well, that's it. there are no more moves. Again, the bishop is hanging, you can't move it. If the bishop moves, we're just gonna pick up the queen. And of course, if you go bishop to c7, which seems like a move you can do, well then just knight captures on g4, as the bishop on g4 is also hanging. So there's no move you can make. So after bishop to b4, rook captures on e2 obviously doesn't work. What does work for black is knight captures on f3. This is one such line that we are going to discuss. And now after g captures on f3, because you want to keep attacking the bishop and the bishop on d6, now we have rook captures on e2. But now again, what do you play here? Well, just captures on g4, and after queen to h4, it seems like black is the one that's winning now, going for the h2 pawn and also the f2 pawn. Not really, just queen captures, or even better, bishop captures on d6. You guard the h2 pawn and you allow queen captures on f2. Completely crazy stuff. And after queen captures king h1, there is no more attack, and also the rook here is hanging. So once you move the rook, we're gonna play queen captures on b7, and it looks like black maybe has compensation for the piece, but not really. With the bishop controlling the dark squares and with the queen controlling this diagonal, there is nothing black can do here. Let's say queen captures on e3, we just move the bishop, and this is, as Capablanca would say, unassailable. There's just no good way to continue the game for black. So we have to go back all the way to bishop to b4. Is there even a move that Magnus could play here? Well, there is, but again, it's not much. It is knight captures on f3 with check, g captures, and now not rook captures on e2, but rather bishop captures on h2, which means that if now king captures, queen to h4 check will be winning for black. However, if you play just king to g2, now there aren't any good continuations. Your best bet here is to just trade queens, and once you trade queens, for example, queen captures, rook captures, now you have to deal with this hanging, and let's say bishop e6, you go after the rook, we play bishop d1, we go after black's rook. After rook captures on b2, attacking the bishop, we pick up the rook on f8, king captures on f8, and now rook to h5, moving the rook out of harm's way. Again, with tempo, the bishop is still hanging, bishop to c7, and we now have this endgame where we, let's say, go bishop b3, go after the bishop here, let's say captures, and now black can choose between capturing here and allowing rook captures on a7, or defend the pawn, let's say with bishop here, but then we capture this pawn, and this is the resulting endgame, two rooks against a rook and the bishop, where, okay, you will pick up this pawn, you will have two connected pass pawns on the queen side, but it will not be enough. White will set up a very nice two rook combo on the 7th, you will start picking up pawns, and that's just it. So tough luck for Ding, because he missed bishop to b4. Again, seems as if because Magnus allowed it, obviously it's not good, and Ding did not search for it, so he just moved the bishop back, bishop to e1. Now, okay, he's attacking the bishop here, but now Magnus just trades everything off. Rook captures on e2, knight captures on e5, we have bishop captures on e5, queen captures on e5, and now well, your rook does look a bit funny there, but luckily the bishop and queen are attacking the rook on d1, so just rook captures on e3. Interestingly, this is the only move that doesn't lose for Magnus, because if you just move the queen or do something weird, we're gonna win that. We're gonna win that rook on e2. So if rook captures on e3 wasn't possible, then there's just nothing here. So rook captures on e3, now attacking the queen. So you could just trade on this way, or you could trade on this way. Queen captures on e3, bishop captures on d1, queen captures on a7, and now queen to d5. And now we have this endgame where Ding is up a pawn, but can he do something with this pawn? So bishop to c3, we have rook to e8, and now h3, creating a breathing room for the king. Magnus does the same, we have h6, and now queen to d4. Ding offers a queen trade and also threatens checkmate. So Magnus trades, captures, and now bishop back to a4, not allowing the rook to capture it, of course. b3, attacking the bishop to c6, and now pawn to a4. So here, Ding still has the two connected pawns here, and he will at some point push them all the way and maybe create a pass pawn. So rook to e4 attacks the bishop c5, now rook e5, harassing the bishop to e3. We have rook to e4, bishop to c5, rook to e5, and now b4. The pawns start marching forward. Rook to g5, going after the g2 pawn, and just g4. So here it seems like you are allowing a bit too much to Magnus, but Ding has everything perfectly calculated. F5, we have B5 now, attacking the bishop, bishop to F3, and now bishop to E3, attacking the rook, rook to G6, and now King H2, seemingly losing a pawn, but not really, because after Magnus plays F captures on G4, Ding has King to G3. Now, of course, you cannot capture because King captures the bishop. So bishop back to E2, and now we have rook to C1. Not bothered with this pawn. Okay, you will be down a pawn, but you have all the counterplay. So captures on H3, king captures, and now rook to F6. So you're not down a pawn now as you were up a pawn. Now it's equal material. Rook to C5, and now bishop to D3. We have A5, Ding ready to create a pass pawn here. Now comes rook F5, forcing a rook trade, because if you move, of course, pawns start falling. So rook captures on F5, bishop captures, and now king to G3. And it was in this position on move 41 that Magnus and Ding agreed to a draw, as there is nothing more to be done here. Once, let's say, king to F7 is played and a pass pawn is created, for example, captures, there's just no way to reach the light square because we have a dark square bishop. Magnus has a light square bishop. He's just gonna put the bishop, let's say, on C6. He's gonna control this diagonal, and that's it. There's no playing this. So yeah, after king to G3, not a great draw for Ding, because second game against Magnus, Ding completely winning, but Magnus got to him, and Ding just didn't believe that Magnus would allow such a position to appear on the board on move 15. But bishop to b4 completely crushing, so congratulations to everyone who found this. And I know you guys already watched that b4 square. It has to be something with b4, and yes, you are correct. The more often than not, it usually, you know, the winning idea involves the b4 square. So yeah, that's the game. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Thank you for recommending it as soon as it ended. We're going to cover some more games from the other match as well, so keep suggesting. I would like to thank David Kimura, Adam Simmons, Robert Kiefer, Mark Manner, and Nagarjuna Ponugoti for your contribution to my channel. Thank you a lot. I really appreciate it. As usual, you can check 2 of my previous videos here. Thank you all for watching, and I will see you soon, continuing to check up on your wonderful suggestions, such as this one, and generally covering the event. So thank you all, I will see you soon, and have an excellent rest of your day. And if you're wondering why Meadow wasn't in the videos today, again, there is a fish being cooked downstairs, and Meadow refuses to leave the fish. So there you have it. See you soon.